My grandparents married on November 11th, 1945. They had met each other a couple of years earlier at a farm where they both worked, just outside of the town where I grew up. My grandfather worked in the fields, my grandmother worked in the kitchen. And when they heard the Danish voice on the BBC announce that the Second World War was over, my grandfather kind of grabbed my grandmother and threw her up into the air and said, "We're getting married, Ma." And like most times when he said something, that's the way it went. So they got married, and 50 years later, we were all together in the local community house. So this is November 11th, 1995. And my grandfather, who was a postman for 42 years on the same route, so he had a lot of enemies and a lot of friends. And he was also a member of the local city council, and he had invited everybody he knew to this anniversary. And as you can probably tell already, we have this thing in our family where the men will get up and give a speech, and we can talk for quite a long time without stopping. I think I may have inherited that from him. Well, anyway, on this day, it was my grandfather's turn to get up and give a speech. He was, after all, paying for the whole thing, so it was only right that he got to do that. So he gets up, you know, at the end of the horseshoe formation. Do you use that for parties too? The way you set up the tables? Well, you can imagine the married couple in the middle there, and depending on whether you owe the guy money or not, you're close to him or further away from him. Maybe if you have his lawnmower, you're somewhere in the middle there. And he gets up and he says, "Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I'm really glad you could make it out today. Hope you enjoy the food. There's plenty more where that came from. I'm sure you've heard the speech before." And then he turns to my grandmother and he says, "Thank you, Ma. Thank you for some 50 wonderful years. Thanks for cooking me biscuits and gravy or collard greens or whatever." He said, for 52 years straight, every day when I came home at 1:30, he would always come home at 1:30, and every morning when he left, he would say, "So what's for dinner, Ma?" And she'd say, "How about collard greens? When will you be home?" I'll be home at 1:30, he'd answer. So they kind of had that routine going. Well, he turns towards her and he thanks her and says, "Thank you for some 50 good years." And then he says to her, well, to all of us, I do realize that I am getting older now because I can see that my grandsons are growing up. And he points to where my cousin and my brother and I are sitting. They're way down there in the back. And right when he says, "I realize, though, that I'm getting older now," he falls down and he dies right there. He's dead on the spot. I don't know if you can come up with a nicer way or prettier way of leaving this place, but I don't think I can. So here's a song about the postman from the place where I come from. Lately I've been thinking about my grandfather, about the kind of man that he was. I remember him standing at the end of the table saying, "Thank you to every one of us." He would go out walking if his bad hip would let him, out to see what he could find. He found rusty nails aplenty, tin plates for the many, and he built a woodshed, the old-fashioned kind. Take this hammer, take this chisel, keep on working till you drop down on your knees. I'm still trying, I'm still working on my masterpiece. 42 years of delivering the mail, the good people of this town. I was 17 years old when my grandfather died. He was tired and worn down. He was a stubborn old man. He hardly ever listened. Or maybe he just knew what was wrong and what was right. I plan to change my way of living. Be humble and forgiving, but it's not gonna happen tonight. Take this hammer, take this chisel, keep on working until you drop down on your knees. I'm still trying, I'm still working on my masterpiece. "42 years may seem like a long time, but not as long as the shadows he cast. Now the 34 summers that I've got to show for are trying to catch up with the past. I keep an old shirt in my closet. It's wrinkle-free, it's brown and gray. You see, my grandfather wore it for my parents' wedding. With any luck,